time out. It's time that you stop time and you reclaim your peace. Hi, I am Olympia LePoint, host of Answers Unleashed. See it on answersunleashed.com and author of my latest book, Answers Unleashed 2, The Science of Attracting What You Want. In my book, I talk about making key decisions so you create the future that you want. And I created these weekly videos to help you make effective decisions on a weekly basis. And this week's video is based on stopping time and regaining your peace with strategic steps. All right. If you are like me, you are a person that likes to achieve, and at the same time, you'll look into the future and you'll see the worst case scenario, and you'll think to yourself, "Oh my gosh, I don't want that to happen." 90% of the world is like this. They'll see something and they'll start focusing on what they don't want to happen instead of what they do want to happen. And all of us are guilty of this. But there's a way to reprogram the way that we are thinking so we start creating solutions for the future that we do want. And in order to do that this week, you have to stop time. Now you're wondering what? There's a way to stop time so you rewind it so you will not get frustrated, confined, stressed out when something isn't working to the time that you want it to. All right, so I'm gonna put on my glasses here. This information comes from my website, answersunleashed.com. This is our weekly forecast for May 15th through May 21st, 2022. You can download the complimentary planner on my website at answersunleashed.com/quantum deciding planner. That way you can download the planner, see what I'm talking about. It's a complimentary gift from me to you. And let me say that again. It's a complimentary gift from me to you. And it's based on my latest book, Answers Unleashed 2, The Science of Attracting What You Want. Let me hold it so you can actually see the cover. All right. This week, I want you to stop time, be still, and listen. I remember being very young, and I remember just laying in bed and just contemplating what my life would look like. And I had several different options. I could have gone down the path of the people in the neighborhood where I was raised and dropped out of high school. I could have gone down the path and been involved in gang violence because that's the area where we grew up. Or I could have loved science and become a scientist. And I remember going to the Jet Propulsion Laboratory when I was 6 years old, seeing jet engines and falling in love with science. And I decided to choose the route of science. And I used to think day in and day out about why certain science things worked. Why was there fire? Why did water freeze? What is it about certain situations with salt where it kills things versus purify things? And so these are the questions I started asking myself with science. When I started focusing on science and not necessarily what I didn't want, but just the curiosity behind knowing something that was hard and making it easy to understand, my life started changing. And it's when I was laying down, just looking at the future of these science concepts, I stopped time in my head and I realized that it is up to you and I to go towards the future that we want. But in order to do that, you have to stop time to get there. Meaning you cannot be restricted to the stress of this moment and think that this moment is going to dictate your long run future. Instead, you have to Just pause, take a time out, stop, and take yourself out of this moment so you can see it for what it is, and then move yourself to the future to see exactly what you want. Now, how do you do that? How on earth do you go through this life and stop time and see what you want and then come back to this present moment so you can actually create that future? Well, there's 3 ways that you do it, and I'm going to give you 3 tips for this week so you can start seeing exactly where you're going to go. So the first decision is to do this. And if you're a spiritual person, you'll get it. If you're not a spiritual person, that's okay. I'm going to explain it so it makes sense. The first step is you're going to ask God for your story. You're going to ask God for your story. And I'm going to say that again. You're going to ask God for your story. Now, what if you don't believe in God? That's okay. You still have a purpose to your life. Whether or not you believe in a creator or in a higher being, the fact is that you have a purpose to your life. What is that purpose? For me, I am a spiritual person, and I will ask God, well, how is this going to work together? Well, what's going on? And why is it like this? Sometimes I have an answer. Sometimes I don't have an answer for years. But the point is that I want you to imagine yourself like this. Suppose you are an author of a book and you knew exactly what the book was going to be about. Before you started writing the book, you had the story in your mind and you put the story down on a piece of paper. And this piece of paper was so magnificent because you were able to take the reader on this journey of the story. And you know the ending in advance. And the reader has to read the entire book to get to the final end of the story that you already knew. But it is the journey of the reader for the reader to know how brilliant a story you have written. And so when they reach those final pages, they are happy that they read the story of your work. Suppose you looked at your life like that. Suppose you looked at your life as a book, where each event, whether it be great or extremely challenging, was a chapter in your book, where there is a great ending, several great endings in several different chapters. If you take the moment in time and be still and just lay in your bed, sit in your chair, listen to your favorite music even, and if you just imagine that ending, your ending, what would it look like? How many different endings in each chapter can you see for yourself? When you take yourself out of this moment in time and move yourself into a moment where you can observe your life, the stresses of the moment no longer have a hold over you, but rather you're able to take that moment and see your ending before it happens, so you know what to look for as these events play out. Each one of us has great chapters in our life that we're living out. And each one of us has this ability to see this great opportunity in front of you and start moving towards it. If you take the moment in time, be still every morning this week, every morning, 5 minutes, just be still and ask God or the Creator or the universe, how is this chapter going to have a great ending? How is this, what I'm going through, going to add up to something that is beneficial? And that leads us to the second decision. The second decision is this: look at your failures as purpose. Look at your failures as purpose. And just to say it a third time, because I like things in threes, look at your failures as purpose. In high school, I failed algebra. And I don't think did I take it over? I did have to take algebra over. And I had to take geometry over because I failed that. And I remember going to Algebra 2, doing well in that class because I had a really great teacher. And then went to trigonometry and did well in that class. And that teacher was a great teacher. And then I took that same teacher for pre-calculus and calculus. And then I made a D in calculus the first semester. And if you know my story, I'm a professional scientist and I write science books and I launched rockets, and that's a whole nother story. I gave a TED talk on that and several TED talks about my experiences. Had I not failed, I wouldn't have been able to reprogram my own thinking. That's number one. And had I not failed, I wouldn't have been able to help other people in tutoring them in mathematics when I was a tutor at California State University, Northridge as an undergraduate, and as a math professor when I taught at colleges. Had I not failed, I would not be able to effectively help people so they could obtain their own degrees in the sciences, technology, engineering, and mathematics. Had I not failed, I wouldn't have written my first book, Mathophobia. It's here. I wouldn't have written my first book, Mathophobia. My failing was a part of my life purpose. I failed because I needed to in order for me to learn how to reprogram my mind with mathematics. And if I could reprogram it with mathematics, I could reprogram it with anything. Your failures are similar. Whatever you have gone through in life, it is for your purpose, your life purpose. And had you not gone through a divorce, had you not gone through an injury, had you not gone through a terrible home situation, had you not gone through, and I can go on forever, had you not gone through that tough experience, you would not be where you are today. Your experience has helped you become the person who you are. Now, not all experiences are great. Some are just absolutely horrific and tragic and terrible, but they still can be used towards fulfilling your life purpose if you take the knowledge of what you learned through the situation and apply it to your future. When you look at your life this week, look at your life as adding up towards something that is bigger than you. When you look at your failures, look at yourself as a person who is learning an intricate way to do something that no one else has done before. That way, when you look at your past failures, you're not shameful of it, but rather you're looking at it as adding to your future in which is going to have that great ending. All right, here's the next decision. Your next decision is take action with your future in mind. Take action with your future in mind. And just to complete it in threes, take action with your future in mind. There was a scientist, Pythagoras. You may have heard Pythagorean theorem. Well, he was a mathematician and scientist who was a spiritual leader. I believe he was a leader in a church. And his faith was so powerful that he looked at mathematics and science as an extension of faith. Meaning he looked at continuing on to infinity as the ability to continue on to something that you know exists, but you're not there yet. He looked at God as this ultimate being that existed, and he looked at, as you approach infinity, like you do in calculus and these great type of computer programs that we are using today with all of our technology, he looked at approaching infinity as a way of approaching something in the future. And it's up to you to have faith that you will get there. He looked at science as a representation of your faith, where there is a beautiful outcome that you will bring into existence, but it doesn't exist yet. You have to have faith that your actions are going to bring it into reality. I found that really interesting because life is like that. We each have something brilliant that we're going to accomplish. You have something brilliant that you're going to accomplish this week, this month, this year, next year, and all throughout your life. Whatever it is, you have to start taking action as if the outcome is already known. You have to take actions in your faith, expecting the outcome to happen in the way in which you see it. Now, there's some variations. For example, if you see yourself, let's say, married, and you see yourself married in the future, that's great. How you'll get married, you don't know, but you have to see yourself in that position. If you want a family in the future, you don't know how that's going to happen, but you have to have faith. You see yourself as a Nobel Peace Prize winning scientist. Let's just say that. You've got to see yourself receiving the award. And the work in which you will create will be evidence of why that award is given to you 20 years from now. The point is this: whatever you do this week, you have to take action in full expectation that that event that you see in the future is going to happen, and that your actions this week is going to help facilitate bringing that reality into existence. So I hope this particular video has helped you. Again, this is the week to stop time, be still, and listen by asking for God for your story, looking at your failures as purpose, and taking action with your future in mind. I love sharing this news with you. You can always find me under Olympia LePoint on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, LinkedIn, and under YouTube, it's under Olympia LePoint and Answers Unleashed. I hope that you have enjoyed this video. For more tips, visit answersunleashed.com and pick up my latest book, Answers Unleashed 2, The Science of Attracting What You Want. I'm Olympia LePoint, and I'll see you next time.